Good evening. Welcome to the Fairview Board of Commissioners meeting. Tonight is April the 18th, 2019 at 7:02 p.m. The third item on the agenda is the prayer and pledge. If you'd please stand. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for all the many blessings you've given us. We gather to make decisions for our community. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Fourth item on the agenda is approval of the agenda and executive session announcements.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Vice Mayor Rainey, second by Commissioner Lucas. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we go to a roll call vote. Ms. Johnson?
Vice Mayor Rainey.
Aye.
Commissioner Lucas.
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson.
Aye.
Commissioner Burks.
Aye.
And Mayor Blade.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 5, public hearings. This will be for item 9, 9C. Second and final reading of ordinance 2019-08, an ordinance to amend the City of Fairview zoning ordinance by changing the official zoning map for properties located at 2090-2096 Fairview Boulevard from RS40, Low Density Residential Zoning District, to a CG, Commercial General Zoning District. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone present to speak on this matter? Mr. Collins?
Yes, Mayor, members of the commission, just as a reminder, this item came before you as a request from staff. The rezoning, obviously the property owner's aware of it, we discussed it with them, but this rezoning is just a matter of cleaning up our map. This apparently was an oversight that's decades old. There's no issue with the current use, but we do need to update our map and make sure the map is reflective of the type of the use of that property. So that's what brought this matter before you.
Any discussion? At this time, we'll close the public hearing. Item 6, citizens' comments. Ms. Johnson?
Mayor, tonight we have Mr. Joel Moenkoff.
Joel? Welcome, sir.
Hey, good evening, Commissioners, City Manager Collins. My name is Joel Moenkoff. I'm the president of the Fairview Chamber of Commerce, which is a nonprofit entity that serves the businesses and citizens of Fairview. Chamber is the public face of Fairview's business community, and often the first place new residents and new businesses look for information about Fairview. The Chamber and its members selflessly invest their time and energy into community development programs, working together with the city and community at large to improve the economic, civic, and cultural well-being of Fairview. On the agenda tonight, I know, is Resolution 1119, and that is something that we feel strongly against as a chamber. We would love to see that the chamber would still be able to conduct the Nature Fest, as we have done for the past 35 years, and also be able to continue on with our Christmas parade. We were very pleased with the work that was done here tonight in the session prior to this, and we do appreciate the city's support. On behalf of myself and the entire chamber and our local businesses, we do desire to have a healthy working relationship with the city with open and honest communication. We are dedicated to realizing these goals with the current board, city manager, just as we have done, have done with past administrations. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joel. Appreciate you being here. Item 7, public announcements, awards, and recognitions. Subsection A, Arbor Day proclamation. I believe Mr. Scott McCoy will read that for us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Make sure I've got this mic right. So we've got a couple of things. One is the Arbor Day proclamation for this year, and then right behind that is the recognition of our Tree City USA recognition, which is kind of tied to the Arbor Day event. But I'll start with the reading of the proclamation. The City of Fairview Proclamation Arbor Day. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Tree Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees, whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, whereas Dr. Evangeline Bowie used land management techniques, including planting over 500,000 trees that transformed barren and eroded land into a park treasure, gifted to the city that now includes over 700 acres of forest, lakes, and 17 miles of trails. Whereas the city of Fairview is located on the western Highland Rim and with a diverse and unique hardwood forest, whereas the redbud tree has been designated the official city tree, whereas the city of Fairview has been designated as a Tree City USA in 2019, whereas trees save stormwater retention cost, clean and cool the air, save energy, attract people and industry, appeal to shoppers, increase home values, slow traffic, increase pavement life, provide health benefits, reduce crime, mitigate noise, increase office worker productivity, provide a wildlife habitat, are beautiful, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners of Fairview, Tennessee does hereby proclaim April 27, 2019 as Arbor Day in the city of Fairview to be observed annually on the last Friday in April going forward, and urges the citizens to plant trees and protect our woodlands to promote the well-being of this and future generations. And then I can introduce somebody that's come in from the Tennessee Forestry to talk a little bit about the Tree City USA. Oh,
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Nicholas Petrzak. I am an area forester with the state of Tennessee in Dixon, and I came over here tonight to give you all this plaque, making y'all officially a Tree City. And I don't know where y'all want to hang that. And I'm here to offer my services as well on Arbor Day. I'll be there. I can answer questions from your citizens about trees or anything about their land or their yard trees as well. I also brought some pocket calendars and tree ID guides if y'all want some tonight too.
Good.
And pleasure to be here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Nicholas. Appreciate you being here. Scott, I need.
Thank you.
We're going to give those to you. We're going to present those to you officially. You can hang them up, not in your yard.
All right, next item on the agenda, item 8, staff comments and monthly reports. City Manager, Mr. Collins.
Yes, Mayor, just a few items for you tonight. We discussed this briefly in the work session, but just as a reminder, the city's comprehensive plan is complete. It has been presented to the Planning Commission, and they have accepted the plan as it was designed. We will have the comprehensive plan on the agenda for your acceptance at our next meeting, May 2nd. The task before you on that night will simply be to accept the plan. We'll have Keith Covington with Common Ground Design come and do the similar presentation that he made to the Planning Commission so everyone can understand how the plan works and the requirements to make it successful going forward. That presentation will likely take 30 to 45 minutes, but it's well worth our time at that meeting to understand the work that we're going to have to do as a city and a community to make that plan successful. We just know you'll have that presented to you, and we look forward to seeing that plan function as we hope that it will. Next, we have talked before about the sidewalks along Highway 100, the repair of those. That work is scheduled to take place next week. So if you see some contractors out there along the roadway, then that's what that's for. All the areas of the sidewalk that are buckled or crumbled will be replaced. I believe we identified 13. That work will be completed by the end of next week, and hopefully we get that sidewalk back in regular service as it should be. After that process takes place, we will need to get with the state. That was a state project originally. We understand that. The state agrees that that's theirs. However, we all also agree that we need to make sure those sidewalks are free of any obvious defects, and we want to make sure that we're doing that. So that work will move forward pretty quickly with no issues that we're aware of. Lastly, as a follow-up to that, You may recall last year, we conducted on a Saturday morning a Focus on Fairview event. Took about 2.5 hours, and it was really an opening of the doors and opening of the books of the city of Fairview to let everyone know where the city was at that time, related to our financials, our operations, short-term and long-term goals. It was very heavily attended, pretty well received. We're going to do a similar presentation this year, with the exception of adding 2 dates for the same presentation. Those 2 dates are Thursday, May 23rd, in this room at 6 p.m. We'll likely take about 2 hours and 15 minutes for that presentation. We'll follow up with any questions, comments anyone has to move forward. We're going to make the same presentation again on Saturday, June 8th. We'll start that at 8:30 a.m. and likely finish around 10:45, May 11, or maybe 11 o'clock. The purpose of having the same presentation on 2 different dates is simply to give as many members of the public as we can have attend the opportunity to attend, and we understand that weekends or weekdays may work better or worse for members of our community. So we'll get that on the website, but just to let you know that May 23rd and June 8th are the dates for those events. As we get information on the sidewalk being complete, we'll get that notice out, and we'll provide copies of the comprehensive plan as well as we move forward. So that's all I have for you tonight.
No comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Item 9, consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a first by Commissioner Lucas, second by Commissioner Burks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we go to a roll call vote. Ms. Johnson?
Commissioner Lucas?
Aye.
Commissioner Burks?
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Rainey?
Aye.
Mayor Blake?
Aye.
All in favor.
We have no old business. Item 11, new business. Resolution 10-19, a resolution of the City of Fairview Board of Commissioners appointing a member to the city's Planning Commission. And I believe, if I'm correct, we had 5 applicants for this position. And I know that 2 of them are here. Are all 5 here this evening?
Jake is here. Did you say Jake?
I'm sorry?
Jake is here.
Yeah, Jake is here. Mr. Dwyer's here. Just those 2? Okay. Would you 2 gentlemen like to come to the podium and introduce yourself and tell us why you'd like to sit on the Planning Commission for the City of Fairview?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry I'm a little kind of cruded up right now. I got a little frog in my throat. I'm Greg Dwyer. I've lived here in the city for, several years. And I have always served the city in one capacity or another at any given time. And this is just another step that I would like to take in the process of being on the Planning Commission. I've got some things to bring to the table. I'm not a genius at this, by no means. But I mean, I would just like to use some expertise that I do have in the field. And I would just be honored to serve on this board. Do any of y'all have any questions for me? I mean, so forth is.
Yes, sir. You said that you do have something to bring to the table. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I served as a volunteer capacity here for several years with the fire department. I was an employee with the City of Fairview Public Works. I'm also involved in the Masonic Lodge 776, and I also help do community events with the Fairview Lions Club, and just any other thing that I can volunteer with. I mean, like I said, I love the citizens of Fairview. If I didn't, I wouldn't be standing up here talking right now. But that's, and I would just really enjoy being part of the board. And like I said, I'm not an expert at none of this. I'm just as new as probably some other people that are that's there. But that's about all I can think of. But I mean, unless you got something else for me.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, I thank
so
you for
much.
your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Dwyer. I believe we have Mr. Whitman as well. Welcome, sir.
Jake Whitman. Me and my family moved here about a year and a half ago into the city. We live in the Kingwood subdivision. I'm the manager here at the co-op, and as the manager of the co-op, we're a member of the Chamber of Commerce, so I just thought this would be a good way to serve the community.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor, I think Haley Schultz is in the back there as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't see your hand. Please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Haley Schulist, and my family and I have been living here in Fairview about 3.5 years. Professionally, I've always been working in the construction industry in one capacity or another, whether it was for a residential developer or a commercial real estate company, which is what I work for now. Personally, I think I just really want to get involved in my community and find ways to give back in a volunteer capacity. And I thought joining from this perspective would be a great way to use my skills in construction and development, all of those to help. So do you all have any other questions about my experience or?
Excuse me. It says here you have a master's in green building techniques.
Yes.
Okay. Is that more of on a residential side or a commercial side, or is it apply to both?
It was a broad spectrum. They didn't, like, the program is through Lipscomb University, and it didn't focus on, it was mostly commercial buildings that we learned about during school. After graduating, I worked for an international developer that focused on military and student housing. So I worked in that industry for about 4 years, and then I worked for a local residential developer in mostly a multifamily capacity. So I've done both multifamily and single-family residential, and now I'm working more commercial, like retail, office spaces, things like that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Schulist.
thank you.
At this time, I'll entertain any motion that might be available.
I'd make a motion to nominate Haley Schultz.
Second.
Are there any further nominations? We have a nomination on the floor from Commissioner Burks, seconded by Commissioner Lucas, that we nominate Ms. Schulist to the Planning Commission. Hearing no other nominations, we'll go to a roll call vote for Ms.
Commissioner
Johnson.
Burks,
Aye.
Commissioner Lucas,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Rainey,
Aye.
Mayor Blade,
Aye.
all in favor.
Ms. Schulist, welcome. You're the newest member of the Planning Commission. Thank you. Item 11B, Resolution 11-19, a resolution of the City of Fairview Board of Commissioners to enter into an agreement governing the management of certain City of Fairview-sponsored or sanctioned community events.
Make a motion to open discussion.
I'll second. We are open in discussion.
Ms. Rainey, I believe this was your matter, so why don't you go ahead and start?
I appreciate so much what the chamber does. I mean, I know it's been hard the last couple of years regrouping. When we got your proposal for what you were planning to do for the events, you sent us a letter. There were no names. There was no one to contact. There were no specifics of what you were going to do. Last year, September, October, the chamber came to us, and one of the things that the chamber told us that they did not want to be in the business of doing parades. So that was one of the things that concerned us as a board, that if we were to get to October and the chamber could not do the parade, I know you've always pulled it off, but there's always that one time. The Parks and Landscaping Board presented a detailed plan of what they wanted to do. The ideas they had for incorporating Triangle School, for doing the parade, for also doing other activities that went along with those kinds of activities, community activities in Fairview. And it was a good plan. I would like to make the motion that the chamber retain Nature Fest. Parks and Landscaping does the other events. And next year, when the chambers had time to kind of stabilize themselves, that we come back and maybe look at this again if possible.
So with this resolution, and we kind of talked about this a little bit during the work session, anytime something would happen in the park, and with this resolution, anytime that a parade would happen, it would have to go in front of the BOC for resolution.
No, if the motion was to adopt the resolution as drafted, yes. However, Commissioner Rainey's motion did not speak to that, so the exact language of her motion will be what carries.
Okay. So what the resolution is in front of us then? Okay. The Chamber of Commerce has been doing these events for 32 years, 16 years, and pulling these events off, I think, in a spectacular fashion. I've been able to be a part of these events, either on the sideline as a person watching and being involved, and also in the Chamber of Commerce. And I don't think that they were ever in specific jeopardy of pulling these events off. They are very intense with the amount of volunteers and the amount of time that the Chamber has to put in to all of these events, and they've been doing a great job and been growing every year. So for the city, I'm concerned for the city to overtake something that is going well, that the Chamber feels that they can do, is a little bit concerning to me. So I would make the motion to oppose.
I can't entertain
Okay.
another motion with one already on the floor.
There's
Okay.
a motion and no second.
I will second the motion by Vice Mayor Rainey.
Okay.
Action would have to be taken on the motion.
Okay. That's all I have.
Is there any further discussion?
I have a few things.
Commissioner Burks.
The Christmas parade in particular is something my family always looks forward to. I live just right off 100, so I have friends, family who just come, park in my yard, and we all walk out and we watch it every year. So we've always enjoyed it. It's changed over the years. Recently, it's been a nighttime parade, which I think's better. It's been a lot more fun. And the thought of us not having that because of some internal issues with the chamber that they've shown in the past is a little disturbing. I was here as well when previous representation of the chamber said, we don't want to be in the parade business. So that kind of makes you wonder, Then there were some issues with the chamber as far as the city provided office space, they provided utilities, they provided signage, all these things so the chamber can function. And then we turn around and get the key back. Chamber says, we don't need this anymore. We're not doing this. After we took the time and the resources to put it out there. Then the proposals, well, again, there's no, hey, here, do we contact about questions about this proposal? It's not really a proposal so much as we just want to do what we've been doing. I'm not sure how well of a plan that is. We, the city, the Board of Commissioners, put together the Parks and Landscape Committee with the idea of them determining the use of the parks and those things. And the parade's not necessarily the use of the park, but is use of city assets, because the city does provide security, they block off the streets, they do these things. So again, I just have some concerns. I like Ms. Rainey's approach that let's let the Park and Landscape Committee, and can we get a confirmation on what the name of that committee actually is? Is it the Park and Landscape Committee or Board?
Board.
Parks and Landscaping Board.
Okay, thank you. Everyone says it different. I just want to make sure I'm saying it right then. Parks and Landscape Board. All right. I like Ms. Rainey's approach to let's kind of meet in the middle on this, then re-examine that issue next year. So those are just my thoughts.
You know, my response to that is, if the homecoming parade if we're concerned that that's not going to work out, are we going to take that over next time? Or if the community does something else that we say, man, that's really good for the city, and if that's in jeopardy, are we going to take that over as well? And where does it stop with something that has been going on for 16 years?
Well, and I would respond, Mr. Dawson, with this, that to my knowledge, there's never been an issue with the homecoming parade going forward. The homecoming, or the schools have never come and said, hey, we're having issues organizing ourselves that could possibly affect this. They've never come to us and said, hey, we want to be out of the business of doing a homecoming parade. That's never happened. Veterans Day Parade, my understanding from the workshop is that's actually put on more by the American Legion chapter that's here. Though I believe the chamber does help assist and volunteer with that, which is awesome. So that's my response.
Is there any further discussion?
If I could, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I would say that I've looked at both of these as someone who was involved in gospel music for years and promoted and produced concerts all over the country. I can tell you that neither one of these are really proposals. Looking at them, wanting to do a 5K run, wanting to do story time, doesn't tell me how they're going to do it, how they're going to pull it off. And that's not a knock against the Park and Landscaping Board. It's just, it's not really a proposal. It's very vague. The Chambers is very vague. For me, the Chamber has a 16-year history of pulling off this parade. They have a 35-year history of pulling off Nature Fest. Have they probably had problems in the past from a organizational standpoint or administrative standpoint? Probably yes, but they've always done it. So the fact that out of 16 years of doing a parade, they had a bad moment in time does not necessarily make me feel real warm and fuzzy about giving this to a board that has never done any events. No, I mean, not one. I don't know. Maybe they have as individuals, but as a board, they never have. So I find it more troublesome to hand this over to a board that has not done an event with hopes that they can pull it off, especially in, 6 months? For me, if we want to have this conversation potentially for 2020, I'm open to that. But as far as voting today to just hand these over, I can't see a reason why I personally would vote that way.
Commissioner Lucas, I would like to say that when the Parks and Landscaping Board came up with those proposals, we have the details, but until the city blessed us doing it, there was no sense in presenting pages of details. And I have done the parade, so I do have that experience.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor, could
Yes, sir.
we ask the clerk to read back the motion? The motion's different than the resolution before you, so I think Ms. Rainey worded it a bit different, so I want to make sure that we know what we're voting on.
Ms. Johnson, would you reread the motion,
Yes,
please?
sir. Vice Mayor Rainey proposed that the Chamber retain Nature Fest and the Parks and Landscape Board take on the other events to revisit next year.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Johnson, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Rainey,
Aye.
Mayor Blade,
Aye.
Commissioner Lucas,
Nay.
Commissioner Dawson,
Nay.
Commissioner Burks.
Nay.
Motion fails.
Item 11C, ordinance 2019-09, an ordinance of the City of Fairview, Tennessee, adopting an amended budget for the fiscal year beginning July the 1st, 2018, and ending June 30th, 2019. Mr. Collins.
Yes, Mayor, members of the commission. I would like to address, if this pleasure of the board, item C and D at the same time, just kind of give you an update on where those are. There's no action for the board to take tonight, but I do want to give you an update as to where we are and let you know, as we've discussed at some work sessions and within this venue, the BOC meetings, of the process for this going forward and where we are, and address some questions. The city is required to have its budget for the current year balanced or amended by June 30 of this year. That amended budget for this year will be on your agenda for consideration on May 2nd, 2 weeks from tonight. We'll also have a work session on that night beginning at 6 p.m. dedicated specifically to the current budget year, amended budget, and the upcoming budget year, the total fiscal year. So both of those items will be before you. Again, both are required to be done before June 30. We're right now about a month ahead of schedule on that, so I'm not concerned with the scheduling of those things. Within those, I do want to address some questions that have been brought about so everyone understands where we are. It occurs to me that in Fairview's past, years ago, that there had been considerations of Fairview's current financials, depending on where time you were, but there was not a lot of discussion or consideration about future financial condition of the city. I think this board has done an outstanding job of ensuring that the city is capable to move forward beyond what it has in front of it. That would include your amended budget year and your years going forward. We've adopted a plan to be fiscally conservative. We've worked to make sure that takes place, and we have been rewarded by that, given some of the information we've gotten in the last couple of months regarding revenues as they come from the county, the state specifically, as a matter of the reduction in revenues that we experienced by the passage of the half-cent sales tax countywide. There is some discussion through email, Facebook, social media, what have you, that the city is in a way that is not favorable, and I would submit to you tonight that that is not accurate. There have been some reductions in staff. There have been some defunding of some positions. The purpose of those defundings and the considerations going forward are not because of our financial condition today, but what I fear our financial condition will be 12 to 14 months from now. And there is a difference. We want to make sure that we're operating in a manner that we can do the things we need to do. As we discussed tonight, we have road projects that we're going to need to consider as a part of operating the city on that capital. We have a comprehensive plan that's very important to the community going forward. All of those parts and pieces have to work together, and if we're short-sighted today, we're going to be short-funded tomorrow. So the purpose of all of our work is to avoid that. As a point of reference, I think it's important for you to know the dollars that I'm going to explain to you just briefly, so you'll have an idea of where we are and what we're concerned with going forward. As of today, the city's general fund operating account has a balance of $1,049,000. Now, that will reduce as we get into the summer, as we go, but the purpose of that balance is to ensure we can cover those lean months. We worked through that last year to make sure that that was a reality, and we believe that it currently is. The Bowie Park Fund has a balance of $109,000. Obviously, those dollars are restricted for Bowie Park capital infrastructure, but those dollars are available. The Tree Bank Fund has a balance of $101,000. Those dollars are secure and they have not been expended for any other thing. The Facilities Fund has a balance of $148,000. About $45,000 of those dollars will be used to do the maintenance and repair that's currently ongoing at City Hall. If you see the truck outside, you'll know that some of that work's already started. We expect it to be completed by May 31st. The Drug Fund has a balance of $96,000, which is a little higher than where we thought we would be. There is some capital outlay that will take place there. You may recall, we purchased a TASER system. We will pay those invoices over a period of time. That will not be a one-time capital outlay, so we're comfortable there. State Street Aid has a balance of $154,000 as of today. There are no large expenditures coming out of that except for a discussion to be considered in the upcoming budget about a traffic study for all of our major thoroughfares so we can plan our growth smartly rather than reactively as we move forward. Our city's capital fund has a balance of $254,000. That capital fund will remain largely intact. As you're aware, we have a lease purchase of our police and fire radio communication system that was not brought on by a decision of the city of Fairview, but brought on by our community partners relate to public safety, and that's a matter that we have to simply fund as we move forward with our service. And lastly, our reserve accounts as of today have a balance of $577,000 and have maintained that balance for the last 14 months. The reason I provide that information to you is to let you know that we are financially healthy today. We also have challenges that will affect that health over the next 12 to 14 months. The effort in being cautious with our budget process this year and being cautious with the retention of staff during the current fiscal year is because those dollars we spend today will not be available to us in 2021 and 2022. So I just think it's important for you to understand that we are solvent as a city. There's no issue that we won't be solvent as a city, particularly in the near future for this calendar year for sure, but we do have to make some decisions going forward. So when you see on Facebook or whatever thing that you see where there's some negative manner or method regarding personnel changes, staffing changes, or those other like things, the effort is to secure our future and not be so concerned with the political discussion that may follow that today. I think that's short-sighted. So as you understand our numbers and you understand our budget, I think those dollars and those points are important. I also would encourage anyone who has a question about any of this to attend the work session on May 2nd. The work session will begin at 6 p.m. We'll discuss all of this prior to the first reading of any of our budgets. Our budget requires 2 readings, so there will be a minimum of 3 meetings in between the presentation to you of the proposed budget and the passage of that proposed budget. So there is some work to be done. It's not an instantaneous vote, but I think this board is due some recognition for trying to plan our growth smartly beginning really 18 months ago to make sure we can go forward. So that's my financial update to you. I believe in the numbers. I believe that we will be successful. I also believe we do have some challenges we need to address, and I think addressing them today rather than addressing them 12 months from now is a smarter play on behalf of the city. So that's what I have for you tonight, sir, regarding those budgets. And thank you.
Sir. Is there any discussion or questions for Mr. Collins? Hearing none, we'll go to item 11E, ordinance 2019-11, an ordinance to amend the City of Fairview zoning ordinance by changing the official zoning map for tax map 42, parcel 78-00, consisting of 102.12 acres, located on Old Nashville Road / Taylor Road, from an RS40 low-density residential zoning district to an R20 zoning district. Owner, Otter Creek Holdings, LLC.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Rainey, a second by Commissioner Dawson. Is there any discussion?
City Manager, can you explain what we're doing here for people that think this is something new?
Yes, sir.
Please.
It is in fact a carryover. There's nothing new to be considered here for you tonight. You may recall This subdivision came before the Planning Commission and the BOC about 18 months ago. And there was some complication with the annexation and rezoning of the subdivision, specifically because the city limit sign crossed a single parcel. Part of this parcel was within the city limits, part of this parcel, the larger parcel, was outside of the city limits. The larger parcel that was outside the city limits was annexed in. As we annex property into the city, the standard annexation is RS40, or single-family lots on approximately 1 acre. So anytime a property is annexed into the city, it is annexed in, unspoken, as RS40. If it is to be changed, then there must be a second vote to change the zoning. So the annexation is one matter, the rezoning is another matter. So the larger parcel, or the southern parcel, was annexed in, and the discussion at the time was that it was annexed and rezoned in the same action. The discussion was that, from the podium and from some discussions, that it was annexed in and rezoned as RS20, which are single-family homes on half-acre lots. You may recall that I mentioned just a moment ago, there was a parcel of this property that was already in the city limits. That parcel was rezoned from RS40 to RS20. The perimeter lots, the lots that bordered Old Nashville Road, remained as 1 acre lots, so they would fit the landscape along Old Nashville Road. So that row of homes will be RS40, or 1 acre. The remaining parcel that was previously in the city limits was rezoned to RS20. During that discussion and during that confusion, there was some discrepancy as to whether or not the annexation of the rezoning of the newly annexed parcel had in fact been rezoned properly. In looking back at those records, the discussion was that it was rezoned. However, the documentation was not sufficient for it to be rezoned. Recognizing that, and recognizing that the property was about to be developed under the RS20, as was principally agreed upon by all parties, I asked the developer to reapply for this property to be rezoned from RS40 to RS20, not as a matter of rezoning for a new development, but for a matter of clarification for an existing development at that point. So the matter you have before you tonight, which will require 2 readings, is simply a paperwork area to properly rezone this property's RS20 as previously was discussed. And I apologize for the lengthy answer, but it's been a lengthy process.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we go to a roll call vote. Ms. Johnson?
Vice Mayor Rainey.
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson.
Aye.
Commissioner Burks.
Aye.
Commissioner Lucas.
Aye.
Mayor Blade.
Aye.
All in favor, Mayor.
Item 12, communications from the mayor and commissioners.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
You may, yes, ma'am.
Did we actually vote on C and D?
There was no action.
No
Okay.
vote.
There was no action taken.
Thank you.
It was strictly informational. 12A, Commissioner Dawson.
No comment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Burks.
When does the Parks and Landscape Board meet?
First Tuesday,
First Tuesday of the month.
yes.
7 p.m.
Ms.
Devin.
Johnson, I would ask that you put on for the next Board of Commissioners meeting on the agenda, a resolution for the chamber as well as the Parks and Landscape Board to perform Nature Fest and the Christmas Parade as a joint venture or as a partnership. And I would ask that the chamber meet with the Parks and Landscape Board at their next meeting and discuss if that is a viable option. If they so choose. Mr. Collins?
I'm not sure if I have a question or not.
Okay.
Um,
You look like you did. Obviously, I can't make the chamber go, but I would just ask that perhaps they have a,
You could offer that motion tonight. We are still in session, so you, totally your
I understand that, but what I would like to see is that they meet with the Parks and Landscape Board first and have a discussion with that board and see if that's something that the two groups think would be viable and
Understood.
doable. And then hopefully we'll have some kind of response at the next meeting.
Commissioner Lucas.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to wish everybody a happy Easter. Be safe. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor Rainey.
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
I would like to thank Mr. Hagee, Mr. Monkoff, and Mr. Holman for being here tonight. Thank you for your participation in the chamber. I have been involved in some fashion with the chamber for the past 31 years, whether it be a member, a board member, an officer, so I understand that your work is challenging, and I do hope and pray that you can find the right path to follow that brings you back together. And I wish you much success in the future. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Debbie, who's that couple that was with you?